What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to 8 Cubes, the show where we discuss the 8 most important topics in Marvel Snap. I'm joined today by frequent guest host, high infinite grinder, Marvel Snap streamer, HuskyPuppies. You can find him on Twitch a lot of the time at HuskyPuppies35, playing weird stuff in high infinite. We are going to start with a discussion around Submariner, just a very weird card, maybe up your alley, maybe not, but you are definitely someone who goes in for a Clea on occasion. Submariner is a 1/2 with an ability that says whenever he is empowered, either in hand or on the board, you get a random 1-cost card that has that empowerment. So Marvel Boy will give things that have an additional +1 every time he gets an empowerment going on. Clea is a pretty clear comp, working with Marvel Boy as a 1-cost card, working with things like the Vision. One of the decks that you've been messing around with recently is a Hitmonkey, Black Swan, Clea, Joaquin Torres kind of thing. Do you think there's actually room for this card to succeed in a deck like that? Or do you think that deck was very much more dependent on old Techno-Organic Virus? Do you think having bodies that are decent for new Techno-Organic Virus is a reasonable thing to be doing? Where's your head at on this guy? Because you're kind of the only guy I know who's a real Clea head.
Oh no, I'm a little bit scared that you're saying nobody else is playing Clea, because yeah, that's kind of where I think he would best fit. Does that mean he's going to be good? Unfortunately, I don't think so. The problem with Submariner is, one, he doesn't work with the Techno-Organic Virus stuff. If he gets empowered by the Techno-Organic Virus, one, that's an ongoing.
Yep.
Two, that removes his text.
Yep.
And that kind of bricks the whole combo that you really would want to get going there. And yeah, you'd think he steps on Clea's toes a little bit, but oftentimes cards that have similar effects can work really, really well together. There's a reason why Stick was so good despite just being Maverick 2. Turns out the second copy of a good card is good. You definitely want that. But like, I'm looking at his effect, and this is a 1/2, not a 1/3, for that we get 1-drops for, and then we just get blown out by anyone who's doing anything good or Killmonger.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's a little tough. I think rather than the Stick comparison, which Stick sort of explicitly compounds with Maverick in a way that is not simply just getting a second copy, the comparison I like for this is when X-23 came out and went into Destroyed X. It's a lot more like that to me, where it's like, this is definitely worse than Deadpool. It's not winning you games the same way Deadpool is. Or like when Headpool came out, right? It's not as good as Deadpool, but you're going to play it because you care a lot about having consistent access to your game plan. And your game plan is, I have this 1 cost and a bunch of buffs. And the thing about Clea decks, like, I don't know how many Clea decks that you've played like outside of this space. One of the things that's really like shockingly clear to me is, like, if you're doing like Clea and Shang-Chi's rings, that stuff's like good if you have the Clea. And then it's really unplayable if you don't have the Clea. And so like the second Clea is like, okay, I'm actually doing stuff now. And I don't think that's necessarily gonna be true, but like just adding consistency or adding into the game the ability to build around, I am going to stack buffs on these 1 costs and get payoff. I do think that there's something there for that. What I don't know about is, like, is there enough there for that? There's also the overlap of, like, are we overlapping with Victoria Hand a little bit? Are we interested in these created cards? Because a lot of cheap created cards, you'd love to play with a V-Hand. She loves cheap created cards. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. So largely, this card strikes me as a card that, like, you know, if it was a 1/3, it'd be like a really reasonable second Clea without the Joaquin Torres synergy. It's like, it's going to be worse. But I do think that we have some precedent that suggests that in decks that actually want to do this thing, there is going to be some reasonable desire to just actually make this happen. I do think that losing old TOV was really bad, because the synergy between old TOV and Black Swan would be pretty key to a deck that is generating a lot of 1s here. Old TOV, Black Swan, a lot of 1s, Hitmonkey, Mother Ascani. There's something there, but now we have new TOV.
The one thing I'm looking out for Submariner is a specific interaction. I don't know how it works. But if let's say he's already been empowered once and gets empowered again, does the card he generates get +2 or only a +1?
I don't think so.
It's only a +1?
I think it's a +1. That's how it reads.
Oh, all my hopes and dreams crushed.
Silver Surfer Jubilee, I expected this to be a 1-star card or a 5-star card. She's somehow averaged out to like a 2-star card in ways that make me feel like maybe I should have just gone for the cop-out there. This is a card that I see in Zombie Galacti decks. I see some pretty entertaining stuff going on with her. None of it seems particularly compelling from a winning games perspective. I do like that in Zombie Galacti, what she does is just give you extra targets for America Chavez, effectively. Because now America Chavez hits her, hits Stick, hits Maverick, hits Galacti itself. There's just kind of a lot of things that work there. And I think that's kind of the biggest upside of her is like play her in a Magic deck that wants you to do this. She does seem a little bit tailor-made for there. I haven't really been too impressed with other decks doing this Jubilee stuff. Have you gotten anywhere with her that seems meaningful? And if you haven't, what do you think would make this card into a little bit more of a relevant card? Do you think it would be like a 4/3 that's a safe thing to do? Is that too strong? Is that too risky?
The one deck that actually has had a little bit of success is, the Galacti decks. It's really the only place you can kind of play her. And even then, just by virtue of being a 4-cost that is rather expensive in a deck where you want as many of your marked cards to be on the board as possible, it's competing with like Shuri or Gwenpool, which is just a tricky one to do. And I've just found it's really, really slow. It's not terrible. I thought it was going to be worse than it is. But like in anything else, it's not that it's a terrible effect. It's just that it's way too slow compared to what everyone else is doing. Like in a season of buff, there are 20 other better ways to buff your cards than Jubilee, and we're playing a 12-card deck. She just doesn't fit.
The OTA dropped recently, and there felt like there were some mixed reactions on this. The changes to TOV, which we'll talk about a little more in an additional segment. The changes to Mother Ascani, which many people argued were not enough. I think that I'm actually pretty impressed with this OTA because the biggest thing that it did to me was take TOV out of tech pile decks, which sort of freed up the entire rest of the metagame in ways that weren't necessarily available before. It feels like post-OTA, there are two ways for me to say this. The first is there's so many viable decks that you can be playing. This metagame is incredibly diverse because there's no longer a format cop. And the second is it kind of feels like every deck sucks because we don't know what's good. And so like there's you could have a glass half full or a glass half empty attitude on this. Which one of those would you pick and what direction would you go with it?
Oh God, I think I might be a glass half empty.
Everything sucks. It's all bad.
Everything sucks. Everything is bad, mostly because I've been playing kind of terrible decks. Like the one rule about the current metagame is you can't play things that die to either Gambit 2 or Shadow King, and I've been playing the zombie decks that die to
Gambit 2 and Shadow King. Yeah.
So like it's realistically, I'm surprised at how well the meta is shaking out. The one point off Ascani I didn't think was going to be as impactful as it felt, but like I'm not sure if that's this was actually meaningful tempo loss for like priority and stuff, or let's get away from the card that was just nerfed, and then people slowly start coming back to it.
Yeah, I think it's both, right? Where you have Ascani as this card that I think is so strong or was so strong that there was just not really a downside to putting it in whatever deck you were playing.
Yeah.
Like you just put it in whatever and it would be like fine, right? And then this change makes it so that is probably not true. Like there's a more appreciable downside. And you now only play it in decks that care about what it does. So that seems like a pretty plausible explanation for what's going on with her right now. Like she's gone from you just slap her in whatever to like, no, this is a card where you care about buffs, you care about copied cards. And there's a lot of those decks still, right? There's still those decks running around. but you aren't going to see her in like TOV decks the way that you used to, even though I will say Butt and I have been messing around with the TOV list, and he definitely had an Ascani in there for a while, which we did end up cutting for a Snow Guard, because otherwise we can't beat Zombie Galacti deck to save our lives. It's actually unwinnable.
You're really
yes.
For Snow Guard?
Yes, it's actually unwinnable. It's actually so unwinnable.
Okay, well, I know, but like,
yeah,
of all the cards, you
I know.
Just do like a Scarlet Witch.
No, I went for Snow Guard. I so far I haven't regretted it too much. It's extra. It works with Quinjet. It's extra things that fill up your Gambit. So like you just get created cards that are like kind of decent, and it's fine, right? Anyway, long story short here, the other card I wanted to mention in the OTA is Kraglin, who I have currently pushed Butt to be playing over Copycat in that list. I like it a lot. I think Kraglin is like a really solid card. It's just genuinely decent right now. People talk a lot about Wilson Fisk. Oh, it's a 3/9. Kraglin's basically a 3/9 that's a little bit easier to get than Wilson Fisk. Like that is just a good ass card if you're caring about tempo and you want to be doing things like that. It's a very underrated card right now. I think that like a lot of people really have not twigged on to that. And a lot of that is because it's Kraglin, right? We have a whole running lineage of jokes about Kraglin sucking. But going to 3/5 was really meaningful. It makes him a legitimate contender for any kind of generic 3-drop stat stick. And there aren't as many spaces for generic 3-drop stat sticks in this metagame because things are very specific a lot of the time. But he is just good now, and I think people should put some respect on him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, in any metagame, you got to look out for like just the biggest cards at any cost. And turns out he's pretty much the biggest card at 3 cost. Like, I think people are a little bit wary of him. One, because, you know, oh, he takes the card out of my deck. I was going to draw my good card, but now I'm not.
You weren't going to draw it. Imagine it was on the bottom of your deck. You weren't going to draw it.
Yeah, exactly. But what about my Howard the Duck synergy? No, don't worry about it. And maybe that, like, oh, it's a slightly random effect. Both effects are good.
They're both good.
They're both good. Just don't, like, play it on 6 without, you know, putting, like, a little bit of thought into what's your deck. But no, yeah, he's absolutely a very, very good card. He stops the opponent's Wilson Fisk if they're not playing him. And he doesn't have the downside of Fisk of where, if it's like late in the game and your opponent has gotten their very big card out, he still costs 3, and it's very nice.
So the new TOV lists are a lot more combo oriented. We've seen a lot of just sort of exploration in the space. Regis did a video on a deck that I don't think he knew was Butt's list. He just pulled it off of Untapped because Butt played for like 24 straight hours.
Oh my god.
So it's like, it's the highest performing list on Untapped, and like 90% of the sample is one guy. But yes, like that was a Butt list that he's kept posting, and I've kept pushing him to cut bad cards and play good cards in. And eventually,
why would he do that?
Yeah, I know. Eventually, I have arrived at one that I think I like. We're a couple cards off, but I obviously am playing tech cards. I've got a Mobius in there. I've got a Snow Guard in there. I've got just like whatever I can fit tech-wise that allows me to actually interact with people. Because fundamentally, what I believe this deck has become is a combo deck. And it has some room to be a combo deck that mid-ranges a little bit, sort of like Shou Lao was. But it doesn't have a ton of room to do that, and that mid-rangey stuff needs to synergize with it. I'm not overly in love with the Snow Guard stuff, but I've definitely won games where it's like, oh, I need 3 points for my Gambit here, so I'm going to play the Snow Guard Bear. And I've won games when my location control mattered from the Snow Guard Hawk, and maybe that wouldn't have been perfect, but it does enough. The big thing about the new TOV decks is they're very heavy on energy cheat, and that makes them very heavy on losing to Mobius and Mobius, who is quite a powerful card in this space. Now, he's not going to do it on his own, but the way I've sort of constructed my TOV deck is to be a TOV deck that is better into other TOV decks. And a lot of that is I have the Mobius, and a lot of other people don't. They're playing like Infinity Ultron or whatever. Sidebar. Any deck with Infinity Ultron in it, you should cut Infinity Ultron from.
Yeah, you are correct.
He is a card that is a marker of an unpolished list. I have never seen a polished list that people have played a bunch with and customized and perfected that includes an Infinity Ultron. It just hasn't happened.
You are entirely correct. Infinity Ultron is a bad card, and I know like at least 5 people who are going to get mad at us for saying that.
Be mad. He's got truthers.
He's one of those cards that like top people know he's not good, but like to pretend that he is, and like it's like I've cracked him. He's so good now. And then like once every like 25 games they get the dream roll, and then the other 24
he's a 5/6. Like, oh my god!
But you're not considering his ability to sometimes get to 20 power if you
5/6. Why is he a 5/6, man?
He's so bad.
Oh my god!
All right, back off the sidebar for a second. Yeah, Mobius is kind of huge, but because new techno-organic virus it wants to do energy cheat. I think the reason new techno-organic virus can do energy cheat is because old techno-organic virus isn't there. Because one of the best cards to run with old techno-organic virus was Mobius, and now there's a whole lot less Mobius in the meta for like, I don't know how much longer, maybe like a day.
Yeah, I don't know how long that's going to last, because the deck is definitely strong enough to make people like care again. But yeah,
it's not the auto include that it once was in those sorts of decks. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen the meta really shift. Like some of that energy cheat is coming back out. I actually saw a negative gamer the other day, and I was like, whoa, nature is healing.
Dude, I lost to a negative gamer with my Mobius deck because I didn't draw him.
That is the worst feeling. It's like, did they snap you?
No, it's like, they didn't even snap. They just got a Zola on their Black Panther and an Iron Man that caused 0, and I was like, well,
hey,
I died.
Yeah, good job.
Shouldn't have played that Loki on turn 1.
Hey.
So there are also a couple of decks that survived the nerfs, and this is the section to talk about them. The Captain Carter combo list is still really damn good. Like, if you don't have a card that's good against that list, it's going to run you over. But luckily, Juggernaut is good against that list. It's running around again. You have Shadow King that's good against that list. That's still a card that is very reasonable. This is the sort of pace setter of the metagame, though. Like, it's just... You're going to run into it. They're going to do stuff to you. It's going to be unpleasant unless you have a game plan for it. They are just the captain of the largest ship in the metagame. And as much as we talk about 2 ships passing in the night, this is a big blundering galleon of a ship that will absolutely blow you up if you do not maneuver around it. And there's also Phantom X. Think of him more as a, I guess, like combat speedboat. The power output isn't there, but he's got a bunch of tactical deployments of things. He's got a tactical Shadow King, a tactical Mobius, a tactical Killmonger. Yeah, he's got a tactical Gambit, which is sort of like the opposite of a tactical card. But yes, right? Like that is just a deck that still survives as well. The move deck with multiple man in it. If you told me that deck was the best in the game, I'd just believe you. Like, I would fully believe if you were just like, yeah, that's the best deck in the game right now. It's got so much gas in that deck. The power level of this metagame is still relatively low. Like I said, every deck is bad. That's a Juggernaut Cosmo deck. As long as you're doing something, like basically every game where you go like multiple man Penny Parker, you win. It's like borderline impossible for that not to happen. Yeah. It's unbelievably strong as an archetype, and I think very underrated. And those are sort of the big standouts to me of the, like, this one, it's familiar, alongside Supergiant, who there's 75 different builds of. They only really differ in like what your 5-drop package is. It's whatever.
No, yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Ascani didn't get hit harder, and then I wasn't as surprised that the move stuff didn't get hit, because I don't think many people know about that.
Yep, never does.
Yeah, it's like, that one seems like it's always at high infinite where people are like, I will do a really good thing and then Juggernaut plus Cosmo you. And the devs are like, oh, we don't care about them. They'll like let them do their thing. They'll
whatever.
Let them
That's
fight.
Their problem. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's like that's like 0.001% of our player base. And you know, if you have not tried that deck, like, do it. It's still very, very good. I don't know. I kind of wish there was more of the Silver Surfer-ish deck, like that old combo one, because it was really weak to Galactus, and that was
It's
hilarious.
a Galactus deck now, dude.
I
That's
mean,
the mirror
yeah,
deck.
but I ran a deck that was all 3 drops or below, Galactus Blink Null, and I could reliably get it out, and it was hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
we've actually
I
had a
love
little bit
that.
of like a Galactus renaissance recently.
We have! It's
Like,
cool!
I think that deck is largely responsible for it, A, because it includes Galactus, and B, because it's very weak to Galactus, when like a big part of the metagame is about these setup decks, right? This was also true of like Invisible and First Steps decks, where it's like, my combo all happens on turn 6. And it requires me to have these cards on the board in these specific positions, so I'm spending a lot of my time. It's a characteristic, I think, of Prodigy decks generally. Not every Prodigy deck, but like he's the sort of commonality where it's like, I'm going to set up this combo of 4 cards in a lane that's going to enable me to win another lane, right? Like, and those are the decks that tend to be like, I am a Galactus victim. I am the biggest Galactus victim of all time.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love it so much. It's just so satisfying to like beat up on people with Galactus. I get it. I wasn't a Galactus enjoyer before, and then it's like you see all their setup by turn 5, and then it all goes away. Oh, it's beautiful.
This is one I kind of wanted to turn to your particular expertise on, because since the nerfs to long onslaught interactions, Magik decks have been in this weird position where I'm pretty sure the card Magik is completely insane. Like, just incredibly good and matchup winning against a ton of stuff. And then there's no good payoff for the card Magik in the metagame that isn't Zombie Galacti.
I think there's one.
That's what I'm asking. Like, what are we doing with this card? Because, like, whenever I play, you're just actually dead to a Magik deck when you're playing Techno-Organic Virus. Like, you're the world's most dead to it. You're so dead to it if you're playing Supergiant without a location changer. You're so dead to it with like all of these things, as long as what they're doing on turn 7 justifies there being a turn 7. And it's kind of unbelievable the level to which there are multiple decks in this metagame that have nothing for it if you can just do a combo. So where's your head at?
It's Galacti is the obvious one. That's the one that I've most commonly been seeing as just a, big combo that like is hard to interact with if you don't have very, very specific pieces or like 2 Shadow Kings on the last turn. The other one I've kind of been seeing, as weird as this sounds, is a little bit of Man Spider. As weird as that is, it dies to Shadow King, but like I personally have been seeing less Shadow King, just as like, new meta people are like, oh yeah, that Ascani deck, it got nerfed, surely no one will play it. And there might be something there. I'm not going to say that there is, but at the very least, if there's a Shadow King, you can oftentimes force a 50-50 between like, hey, is it going to be a Zola or a Taskmaster? Or maybe the deck tries to find some room to sneak in like a Cosmo alongside something else, like, I don't know, Juggernaut, or a Revive card. Something like Adamantium Infusion. Magik feels like a very, very strong effect where it's just like, yeah, you're doing pretty good combo stuff. What if I just blew you out of the water and your whole entire deck is focused on you doing your combo, you can't stop mine. And it's if we start seeing more Ascani stuff, we'll probably see more of that. But that's the one I'm interested in seeing more of. I don't know if it's good though.
Longtime viewers will be familiar with my Fraud Watch segment. Permanent resident Victoria Hand is once again on Fraud Watch, but she has been downgraded from Fraud Warning because the metagame got depowered enough that now she's back on Fraud Watch, as opposed to I'm positive this is a fraud. Now, the reason that she's on Fraud Watch is because I think it's extremely possible that it's just better to be Quinjet TOV than Quinjet Victoria hand at this point. I think that's a very possible outcome. It's not necessarily a guaranteed one, but she seems to me like a thing that people are playing because it's safe. We know this is like at least tier 2, and it's going to be pretty good, and I'm not going to be doing something that is just actually has no future in it, just throwing it away, right? But I think as a safe pick, she also has a ceiling. This is a straightforward deck. Everyone's familiar with it, and she's a little bit just, never going to take that leap. And I think there's another deck I'd like to induct into the Fraud Watch category, and it's a deck you're really familiar with. The zombie deck is the world's most 50% deck of all time. I cannot think of a single matchup where I'm like, this has a unique benefit towards being this kind of deck. It is a modern day Devil Dinosaur, where it's just like, here's my points. Can you beat my points? What's up? I have no interaction. Here's my points. I like, one of the weird things to me is it's hard to define a combo deck, right?
Yeah.
But any deck that isn't playing interaction is by definition going to be a combo deck. Not a good one, but if you're not playing something that can make your opponent's numbers go smaller, your matchups are actually very simple. They are just who has more points. And you can outskill by being smarter at allocating them. All of that stuff. But they are just going to be about that. And so to me, that is one of the archetypes of deck that I hate the most, is a deck that has no interaction, that is just points, and it's not the most points. It's such a punishing place to choose to exist in. And people, like, the worst part about the zombie deck is, like, it's awesome. It's so cool.
It is.
But, like, I think people think that, like, oh, the reason the zombie deck sucks is because people play Shadow King and Gambit. It's like, no. Even if they weren't doing that, you'd get got by the Surfer deck. You just can't beat them. Like, you can't beat them. They're you, but bigger. And it's like that's the stuff that bothers me. Where it's like, this deck is a deck that has every appearance of being a good deck. There's so much cool stuff in it. You Mother Ascani, your zombie giant man. You have Mother Ascani and Absorbing Man in the same deck. You can do so much cool stuff. The Venus addition to the deck, the points are really good. There's cool stuff in the space. And it's just no interaction at all. And that lack of interaction means that it is just getting big brothered by anything that does more points, right? Like, we talked about how Magik decks do this. And I hate to do this because I love the zombie deck. I have the Rian Gonzalez Chibi variants. Those are the expensive ones for every zombie card that goes in that deck. I have all of them. I'm a believer. But this is a fraud. This is a Fraud Watch deck.
Yeah, it is. I have been experimenting with the deck a lot, like trying to put in a Cosmo just for that last turn stuff. I have spent way too much time on that deck. And for context of how much I love that deck, I have a phobia of zombies, and I love playing that deck, which is, like, wild to me.
It's so fun.
I'm even willing to do. Yeah, it's cool. It's like it channels the old Devil Dinosaur enjoyer in me, like the pool 2 days of like, I'm Moon Girl and I Devil Dinosaur, and he's so big.
It rocks.
And I have 2 of them now. And it's just like, but it's like it dies so easily to itself when it doesn't get the draws, to Shadow King, to Gambit 2, to Surfer, to anything with a Magik in it. And it's just like what is this deck beating at this point? It's kind of just, it's the way I call it in my head, at least, is a hyper synergy deck. Like, destroy, every card is working towards a game plan that isn't a huge combo. It's discard would be like that. Mr. Negative would be more combo. But like, it's kind of in that same vein of destroy and discard, where it's like, okay, neat, and then it dies to more things than discard does, but it's so much cooler than discard is. It's a fraud, but I love it.
It's such a fraud. I don't like calling things frauds in this sense unless they have like massive play rate. But I'm pretty sure like zombies and V-Hand are like the 2 decks I see the most. And when I say like every deck is bad, they're the decks that allow every deck to be bad and still win. Like there's just no way, man. Like, I don't believe you.
Like,
I don't believe that you're actually a Nigerian prince. Okay, like I don't. Last up, it's Husky's soapbox. What you got for us, Husky?
I have just been kind of fascinated with just like looking back through time at the pure impact of just some random guys that are just playing this game. It's like this card game has been impacted hugely, not just by like you putting out top tier decks, but like random people building the weirdest things that you could ever and probably never think of. The one that always comes to mind as probably the most impactful player, at least for a brief shining moment, was a Hella Enjoyer, who made the Living Tribunal deck.
Yep.
And like for a glorious week and a half, that deck was everywhere and unstoppable until people remembered Enchantress was a thing, and then it died.
Well, but can I cut in on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think that moment was when Marvel Snap crystallized this competitive game. The dynamics that deck introduced to the metagame, and you are also responsible for this because of Hella, the dynamics that Hella introduced to the metagame, right? Like, those are the moments where dynamics that we still see today, where when I talk about these combo decks as decks without interaction, right? That's what defines being a combo deck. Every deck was kind of that for a while. People were just playing a bunch of piles and skating on being good at point allocation, right? And so when you get to that Hella deck, you get to that Living Tribunal deck, things become about what I have started to call the metagame accordion. Things get small and techy, things get big and combo-y. Things get small and techy, they get big and combo-y, right? And that motion, that pendulum really only started swinging with that Living Tribunal deck. That's when it happened, right? Like, that's when the motion that we are still a part of, you could trace everything back to that moment, right? And I think that is like an incredibly underrated contribution.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely huge, of just some guy who said, what if I wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh in Marvel Snap and just make everything that my opponent did just completely invalid? And I absolutely loved it. It's, I think, one of the best things you can do as a player is follow the people who are making those big impactful changes. KM is one of them, so, you know, subscribe and all that. At the very least, you are someone who pushes that to the forefront.
I report on
like yeah, it's like people like Butt, who just one day went, I think, like up, what, 500 SP?
He said he climbed 650 SP.
Oh, jeez. At our level,
to be fair, he was like really low for him. He was like 100.
Oh, so, like, oh no, he was top 100.
No, like for him, that actually is. That means he was like chilling around like 8,300 SP, watching, right? Like, that's really low for Butt. That is like,
I mean, fair, sure, but like the amount of impact that just certain people have, just pushing the meta around, and like Regis is a big one. Like he will also publicize that stuff, and people play his decks. We talked about that earlier.
Well, one of the things about the Hella Enjoyer thing is the reason that deck really kicked off was actually because Cozy picked it up.
Oh, was it?
Yep. Like, Hella Enjoyer got it to Cozy via some channel, and Cozy did a video on it, and it probably doesn't happen if not for him. Like, that realization never hits players that, like, pendulum, the accordion, whatever you want to call it, it never starts spinning if it weren't for that, right? I distinctly remember that, like, it was like the end of December, beginning of January or something like that. And that was when things started to be like they are today. It's a watershed moment. It really was.
It's just so cool. Like, I personally, I wish there was like a historian channel of like just these
Best
are
you got, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like instead of like a metagame breakdown, like a dedicated history of this is someone who was very impactful for the game. This is what they did. Things were never the same afterwards.
Like ESPN 30 for 30. Do like oral histories where you interview people and they're all like sitting down talking about it. Like The Last Dance.
Oh, it's fat. Like, I feel like that's something we can never really like truly convey in a video, of just like what the top player community is and how it moves and breathes and how weird some of these people are. Like, my God, these people, they make no sense to me sometimes. Like, Danish is out here getting top 2 in tournaments, putting like Havoc in a Hella deck just for fun. And it's
because it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like that slot in the deck is totally irrelevant, and that's what that was meant to prove, right? Like that's
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I tend to think that like it's actually kind of shocking how similar a lot of top players are in terms of their thinking, and how understandable they are to each other once they start talking, and how much they agree on like basic premises of things, or to some degree like intuit things that they aren't explicitly saying. Like one of the things that Big Baby used to say was like, sometimes I'll do something and then KM will like do a video on it and I'll be like, oh yeah, that is why I was doing that, right? Like it's not necessarily all happening on a conscious level, but it is a really like, it's a really similar mindset amongst a lot of top players that I think is like, it's worth noting. Weird soapbox, but I guess that'll do. As always, thank you so much to guest host Husky Puppies. I've been KMBest. He has not been Lamby series, and so he's not going to take us out. I am. You can catch Husky Puppies on Twitch at HuskyPuppies35. He is streaming extremely often. I think he's going back to like afternoon, evening timing at this point. There were a couple days where he was doing like middle of the day kind of stuff, but you can usually catch him. I think actually usually before I'm on is typically when he tends to be online. So definitely do check him out. And as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.